In the 1960s, African nations finally gained their independence. But what if I told you that colonialism never really ended? It just changed its form. Today we're talking about neo-colonialism, how Africa is still being controlled through debt, foreign influence, and economic exploitation. After independence, many African nations were forced to borrow money from the same colonial powers that once ruled them. Institutions like the IMF and World Bank gave high-interest loans that kept African economies trapped in debt. Many African countries now spend more on debt repayments than on healthcare and education. France still controls the economies of 14 African nations through the CFA franc, a currency they created. These countries must store 50% of their foreign reserves in France, meaning their wealth is still managed by their former colonizers. African leaders who tried to break free, like Thomas Sankara of Burkina Faso, were often assassinated or overthrown. Africa has over 30 trillion in natural resources. Many Western and Chinese companies own African mines, oil fields, and farmland, controlling the wealth while local communities remain poor. Leaders who resist are often met with sanctions, coups, or economic sabotage. They no longer send armies, they send corporations. Because of neo-colonialism, African nations are drowning in debt. Foreign countries still control African economies, and African resources are making others rich while its people are struggling. But the real question is, how can Africa break free once and for all?